So, good evening, sir. My name is Harish Kiran, and today I will present about problem-based task one. So, the mission for this problem-based task one is to measure the safety level of the server room, ensuring the best security practices for a secure server room. Number two is to be able to identify any vulnerabilities and know how to resolve them immediately. And number three is to ensure the servers are actually secure from external or internal threats and from natural disaster or emergency. Okay, so we are going to see what checklist that we must do for each section. So first of all, we are going to go into site location. So the first one is, are there external windows? So external windows are important for ventilation. Plus more, if there is external windows, we need to make sure they are sealed so that no dust particles or no other person can breach from the windows. Second one is, are all doors secured and locked? So we need to make sure all of the server rooms doors are locked and secured so that we prevent data breaches from happening and let unauthorized people from coming into the server room. Number three are the doors equipped with access control. So we need to make sure only authorized people come into the server room and have access into the server room. This is really important to prevent from data breach, and we can also avoid server damage by other people or from external threat to our servers. Number four, is there any access doors that leads to server room? So we need to make sure that we cover all of the rooms that leads to all of the doors that leads to server room, because we need to make sure all of the doors have access control also to prevent from data breach and unauthorized access to the server room. Number five is, does the server room equipped with air conditioning? This is really important for air ventilation because we need to make sure our server is not overheated, because when the server is overheated, the performance will drop down. Number six, does the room have fire extinguisher? So fire extinguisher is really important in a server room because in case a server overheated and let's say a fire breaks out, we need to make sure that the situation is under control. So we need to have fire extinguisher in ready so that we can control the fire from spreading to other area also. Number seven, is the server elevated above the ground? So let's say natural disaster like flood may come in, and when flood comes in, we need to make sure our server is elevated from the surface ground to make sure the servers doesn't get water damage. Number eight, is there any additional space for more servers? Because we wouldn't know how many servers do we need at that time. So in case of emergency server adding up or we need to add another server, immediately there must be always space for more servers. Okay, number nine, is there any backup power plan? So we need to make sure our server runs 24/7 to make sure it's gives the service that it's supposed to be. So let's say if there's a power outage or power break, we need to make sure we have generator or something to back up the power to make sure the server is keep running throughout the power outage process lah. Okay, number 10, how long does the backup power plan last? So we need to make sure how long does the backup power plan last. So let's say if a backup power plan lasts around 2 hours, we need to make sure the main power supply is back within 2 hours. If not, we need to prepare another backup plan to make sure the server is running smoothly. And number 11, does the building have CCTV surveillance? This is to make sure that people doesn't enter the room that easily. And if people enter the room, unauthorized person enter the room, we could identify it and we could actually prevent it from again lah. All right. So the next one is equipment care. So number one, does the server is attached with proper safety equipments? So we need to make sure our server is attached with proper safety equipments. Again, from preventing data breach, from preventing unauthorized attack or damage to the server itself. Number two, is that a trained maintenance team was assigned to check those equipments whether properly working or not in a routine. So it doesn't matter how many equipments you have. If the equipment is not maintained well, it doesn't function well. So when it doesn't function well, it doesn't serve its purpose. So we need to make sure that maintenance team to make sure all of the equipment is working properly and in excellent condition. So number three, does the server room properties were upgraded according to its usage up to date? So we need to make sure the server room properties were upgraded so that it can perform well at the same time it serve its purpose smoothly without any problem at all. Number four is there sufficient employees to keep the surrounding of the server room and its equipment clean. So we need to make sure the server room is clean, free from dust, mainly because ventilation is a big major role in server rooms. So we need to make sure the room is dust free. Plus, we need to make sure the equipment is clean so that when people use it or when it serves its function, it performs well and excellently. Number five, does the server room is attached with sufficient cooling system? Same goes to the first point up there. As I explained just now, ventilation is really important, so we need to make sure the cooling system are sufficient and enough for each server to make sure it perform well and excellent. All right. Next up is building management system. So the first one is, are the servers secured with strong password? So we need to make sure our servers are secured with strong password from preventing data breach. We need to make sure our password are mixed with letters, numbers, alphanumerics, and we need to make sure it is contained with special characters so that when a hacker or unauthorized people try to access our server, they could not access our system. Number two, are servers labeled following their function? So in a server room, there might be a lot of servers. So we need to make sure we knew and we label each of the servers so we know, okay, we know, let's say if there's a problem in this server, we can identify it quickly and we can fix the problem quickly according to which server is the problem. Number three, does the team does regular backup on server? So regular backup is really important. Let's say if a data loss occur in a server, if data loss occur and we have backup, we can actually back up the file, and it's actually easy to back up the file and the server can run in full time without any downtime. Okay. Number four, last time the servers were backed up. So we need to make sure what was the day they backed up, because some information might get lost in the process. So we need to make sure and we need to identify at which time the data was backed up, at what date was the data was backed up. Okay, next up, does the room monitor 24/7 physically or via CCTV? So we need to make sure that our room is monitored physically and via CCTV to make sure double protection and to make sure that unauthorized person could not enter the server room. Number six is employees trained to take the right action in case of incidents. So we need to make sure our employees are trained uh, to take the right action during an incident happen, because we wouldn't know what will happen or what will happen, which hacker will attack a server. So we need to make sure our employees prepared and the employee know what to do in case of an incident. Okay. Number seven, how often does the training done? So we need to make sure we are up to date to the threat, because each day a new threat coming in. So we need to make sure our employees are aware of the threat and our employees could perform in any threat possible. So number eight, are they keeping track on EOD or EOM, end of day or end of month? So we need to do a report of end of day or end of month to make sure how many threats were there, what were the threats, so that we can prevent from the threat happening again. Next up is maintenance checklist. So in maintenance checklist, we need to checklist, does the maintenance team of the server room have proper schedule for their duties? So we need to make sure all of the employees who have job or maintenance in the server room have proper duties so that they can perform their duties well and correctly. Second one is, does the storage utilization is verified regularly? So we need to make sure the storage of the maintenance room is verified so that if, let's say, if some extra servers coming and some extra equipments coming, we can store it in the storage room. Okay. Third one is, does the backup files were verified and double checked by the responsible team? So we need to make sure the files that were backed up was verified and double checked, so that if, let's say, there is a file loss or a data loss in the process, in the process, they could actually quickly identify which part is missing and they can back it up also. So number four is, does the operating system updates is verified check regularly? So we need to make sure our operating system is up to date so that uh, we can actually prevent from data breaches or virus attacks, because new virus comes up every day. So we need to make sure our operating system is up to date so that it can fight and can secure ourselves. Number five, does the hardware errors were checked on regular basis? So let's say if there is an hardware and we didn't check it, obviously when the time comes it can't perform well. So we need to make sure the hardware is checked on regular basis so that when there is an hardware error, we can quickly fix it and make sure it works when the time comes. And number six is, does the overall server security is being under control? Because sometimes servers control security control might not be under control. So we need to make sure everything is under control so that we can actually perform the security features very well. And that's all from me. Thank you.